Exclusive contract with Feilu Novel Network Novel. Shadow synthesis. I become a beautiful landlord, Andy is pregnant. As a traveler, Chen Shuo himself is ordinary and just has one system, for houses make a living by collecting rent every day. Of course, his tenants are a bit unusual. Fan Shengmei, Qiu Yingying, Guan Zhuer, Tong Wenjie, Song Qian, Zhu Suasua, Jiang Nansun. The most outrageous thing is that while he was on vacation in Thailand, Andy opened his door. She was drunk. She slept with Chen Shuo. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Playing Phuket. Midnight Drunk Andy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the evening. Phuket, Thailand. On the white king bed of the beach villa. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, a few beeps sound when the phone is connected. One hand reached out from the bed and grabbed the phone next to the pillow. The interface where the phone lights up displays several transfer messages. The room was shrouded in darkness. Chen Shuo squinted his eyes and adapted to the light. After seeing the information displayed on the phone, Chen Shuo's mouth grinned. He only remembered now that today is rent collection day. He received several WeChat prompt sounds on his phone. All transfer records. Chu Xiao Xiao. WeChat transfer of 5,000 yuan. Fan Shengmei. WeChat transfer 2,100 yuan. Guan Zhuer. WeChat transfer 2,500 yuan. Qiu Yingying. WeChat transfer 2,300 yuan. Chen Shuo happily received the payment. At this moment, a call reminder popped up on his phone. Bring some people, Chu Xiao Xiao. Chen Shuo pressed to answer, and a strange and ancient voice came from his phone. Hello. Landlord, have you received my transfer? Received, quite punctual. That's not necessary. The Chinese New Year is coming up soon, and you can't delay anything to pay rent. By the way, landlord, Happy New Year. Chu Xiao Xiao casually said 2 sentences. Happy New Year. Chu Xiao Xiao was the first person in this world to say Happy New Year to him. He has been in this world for a week and hasn't seen Wu Mei yet. After hanging up the phone, Chen Shuo put on his clothes and got out of bed. Opening the curtains reveals the huge glass windows of the seaside villa. Outside is a beach illuminated by lights at night. Chen Shuo was not originally from this world, he was a traveler. In this world, one's identity is just an ordinary person. The 4 houses he currently owns, Joy Song, are actually legitimate gains. A week ago, Chen Shuo traveled over. As an ordinary person, he awakened to the acquisition system. You can earn rewards by completing tasks. The first system reward is the 4 houses on the 22nd floor of the Joy Song. At that time, he realized. This world is a world where movies and TV dramas sing praises of joy. This drama was a big hit in his past life as a blue star. The house that the system rewarded him with was exactly the 22nd floor where Joy Song Wu Mei lived. In this way, he became the landlord of the 5 beauties of Joy Ode. Just as Chen Shuo was waiting for the rent to be collected. But was informed by the system that 4 random tasks must be completed. To obtain the final right to use the 4 houses on the 22nd floor of the Joy Song. Every task is a random task. If the system is not completed, the right to use the house will be revoked. For tasks and 4 suites, no problem. Chen Shuo is an optimist. Take it as it comes. He happily agreed. When he first arrived in this world, he was a bare rod. By completing 4 tasks now, you can obtain 4 houses out of thin air. Stupid talent. Pooh. Fools don't do it. On the day the system appeared, 3 tasks were released in one go. Although it's not difficult to say, it's tiring. After Chen Shuo finished, he lay directly in bed for a day and a night. Then the system went silent. There will be no movement for the next 3 or 4 days. Quiet until Chen Shuo suspected. Is the system deliberately ignoring him? Either you're holding back your big moves. Chen Shuo was a bit anxious at first. In the next few days, I opened up and enjoyed every day in the Buddhist tradition. Until yesterday morning. The system suddenly released the last task. Come to Thailand for vacation on New Year's Eve. Chen Shuo is a bit confused. This is not the style of the system. Is it that simple? Can vacations be treated as tasks? He thinks he can make the system go bankrupt. Although Chen Shuo was confused in his heart. But he still came on time. Looking at the beach outside with a gentle breeze. Chen Shuo changed his clothes and decided to go out and play. He picked up his phone and didn't expect a few more messages to be added. Fan Shengmei. Landlord, Happy New Year. The company's market is not good this year. Can we lower the rent a bit? Guan Juer. Happy New Year. Wishing you happiness every day. Cute JPG, Chiu Ingying. Happy New Year, landlord wishing you delicious food every day. Originally, there were 3 people from 2202 who sent him New Year's greetings. Chen Shuo replied uniformly. However, it is unlikely to lower the rent. After all, his price of $5 is not considered high in the entire Joy Song. Chen Shuo picked up his phone and left the beach villa. He didn't forget that he came to Thailand to do a task. Travel missions are also missions. Moreover, the system has not yet reminded us to complete the task. Beach villa, as the name suggests, is a vast and beautiful beach outside. It had just gotten dark, and the lights on the beach were as bright as day. A large number of beautiful women in bikinis with explosive figures. Playing and frolicking at the seaside. Chen Shuo's appearance instantly attracted the gaze of a large group of beautiful women. There's no other reason, he's too handsome. The resolute eyebrows and eyes, as well as the profound and 3-dimensional facial features, perfectly interpret the firmness and clarity of Eastern men. Plus his superior height of 1.85 meters. Immediately, several beautiful women's eyes lit up. Waving his hands and walking towards him at night, Chen Shuo was tired from playing. He refused the invitation from the 2 girls and returned to the beach villa alone. Just as I sat down, I suddenly heard a knocking sound at the door. Chen Shuo thought he was a waiter in the villa and walked over to open the door. Opening the door, I saw a drunken and graceful figure standing by the door. After seeing the woman's face clearly, Chen Shuo raised his eyebrows. The person in front of him is one of the 5 beauties of Ode to Joy. Andy, the CEO of Gao Leng. Andy leaned half against the door and stepped on a pair of black high heels. His calves were slender and fair, with well-proportioned muscles and no excess fat. The thighs are wrapped in a beige short skirt, possibly due to wearing high heels and a pair of jade legs stretched straight. Above her waist, which was unbearable to grip, the tight top followed her movements, and her career line was faintly visible. A cold yet delicate little face, with a thin layer of blush floating on it, like an enticing peach, attracting people to take a bite. She lifted her small face and looked at Chen Shuo in confusion. Smart and beautiful eyes blurred. Red lips slightly open. Chen Shuo hasn't figured out the situation yet. I saw a fragrant and alcoholic aroma rushing towards me. He quickly reached out his hands and caught the fallen figure. In an instant, a fragrance mixed with the smell of alcohol penetrated the tip of the nose. Not only is it not unpleasant, but the taste is also quite good. Chen Shuo hugged Andy and lowered his head to ask her, "Andy, where is your room?" "Room. Room." Andy looked up at him and blinked in confusion. Forget it. He is planning to go to the waiter to inquire about the situation. Suddenly caught tightly by 2 weak and boneless little hands. Don't mention it, I have quite a strong hand. Andy, wake up, Chen Shuo patted Andy's face, which was red and soft to the touch, and his skin was as smooth and delicate as silk. Andy cannot say that there is no response at all. She tightly grasped Chen Shuo's clothes with both hands, and her delicate and beautiful face approached the sea breeze blew and the door slammed shut. Chapter 2. Strange Men and Women in Bed. Andy's Seal. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next morning. The Villa Hotel just woke up. A sharp and abrupt soprano broke the tranquility of the morning. Ah! Andy with messy hair and disheveled clothes. Hold the white blanket tightly in your arms. My pupils trembled as I looked at the man lying beside me. On the ground beside the bed, underwear and jackets were mixed together, scattered all over the ground. Black high heels, lying crooked on the ground. The room was filled with a messy and ambiguous atmosphere. She stared at the unfamiliar man lying beside her in panic. The handsome man in bed is actually naked. Isn't she? Andy lifted the blanket and glanced at it. My face turned pale in an instant. A thunderous roar echoed from the head. She quickly calmed down and her beautiful eyes glared at Chen Shuo with anger. Who are you? How could it appear on my bed? Andy sternly questioned Chen Shuo. Chen Shuo was dreaming when he was suddenly awakened by a scream. He opened his eyes and remembered everything that happened yesterday. Andy broke into his room while drunk. I almost fell, but after being caught by him, I held on to him and refused to let go. Still throwing him onto the bed, what are you staring at? Answer my question. Andy held on to the blanket tightly. Under her disheveled mid-length hair, her fragrant shoulder was faintly visible, and she reached out a hand that was so white that it dazzled her eyes. The slender jade finger points towards Chen Shuo. Staring at him in surprise and anger as a stranger. Chen Shuo's gaze swept down. A touch of red on the snow-white bedsheet. Dazzling and eye-catching. Chen Shuo withdrew his gaze and explained to Andy. This is my room, you're sleeping on my bed. Yesterday you knocked on the door while drunk. After I opened the door, you held on to me and didn't let go. Andy is confused. She stared blankly at Chen Shuo. The memory of drinking fragments, after Chen Shuo's reminder. Remember little by little. After looking around, she found that this is really not her room. The face turned pale with anger and instantly turned red. She drank alcohol last night to release herself. I accidentally stumbled into the wrong door. But in my memory, the man in front of me didn't take the initiative to do anything with ill intentions. The one who took the initiative is actually her. And yesterday she was asked where her room was. We need to send her back. It was her disagreement that knocked the person down. Andy really doesn't want to recall the later content. Andy didn't even think of it himself. She still has such a crazy side after a while. The anger on her face gradually dissipated. Especially when she saw Chen Shuo's innocent face, even showing an expression of being taken advantage of. It was suffocating in waves. Feeling extremely ashamed in my heart. Mainly because Chen Shuo is truly innocent. He was originally staying well in his room. Suddenly, a drunken beauty knocked on the door. What else did you give him? He can't even find a place to reason. Andy clearly thought of this too. She accidentally drank too much yesterday. What a ridiculous thing to do. Andy looked at Chen Shuo with shame. Sorry about yesterday's incident, I drank too much. Chen Shuo felt much more comfortable when he heard Andy's apology. But he has no intention of arguing with Andy. After all, I'm not that stingy. But the next second, Andy's expression became serious. Can you help me keep a secret about what happened between us last night? Chen Shuo nodded. Seeing this, Andy breathed a sigh of relief. She found her wallet and took out a sum of money, placing it in front of Chen Shuo. I hope you never say anything about yesterday. This money is for your ceiling fee. I hope you can keep the secret between us. If it's not enough, we can still discuss it. Chen Shuo gave her a skeptical glance. My gentle face turned a little cold. He collected the money and put on his clothes neatly. Wait for Andy to react. He had already put on his clothes and left the room. Andy looked at his back as he walked away directly. For a moment, my heart was filled with mixed flavors. Although she took the initiative last night. But she is the one who is truly being taken advantage of. What losses can Chen Shuo suffer as a big man? He just left like this without even saying a word. This attitude makes Andy somewhat skeptical. Will he help himself keep a secret? Andy looked angrily at the direction where Chen Shuo was leaving. But also very helpless. Who made her drink too high yesterday and run into someone else's room? Releasing oneself too much leads to this kind of mistake. The matter has come to this point, and any further regret is of no use. Andy found clothes scattered on the ground. The ambiguity in one place seems to be telling the story of her madness last night. But the other protagonist of the story left without even a shout. Andy's anger subsided in his heart and suddenly rose up again. She took her clothes and took a shower in the bathroom. At this moment, in another room of the Villa Hotel, Bao Yifan sat on the sofa, anxiously pulling his hair. I didn't sleep all night, and my face had a scruffy beard. His expression was also extremely anxious and decadent. There is simply no image that a vice president of a group should have. If his father sees his decadent appearance, another lesson is inevitable. But now Bao Yifan can't even manage so much. He's worried about Andy. After separating from Andy yesterday. I haven't heard from Andy yet. Suddenly, a pleasant mobile phone ringtone rang. Bao Yifan instantly picked up his phone. See the caller Andy displayed on the page. Can't wait to answer the call. Hello. Andy, where are you now? I've been looking for you all night but haven't found anyone. Andy's mood was very upset by Chen Shuo at this moment. She grabbed her belongings and walked out of the hotel room. Looking at the chaotic scenes inside, it became even more frustrating and irritable. Upon hearing Bao Yifan's questioning, he anxiously reported an address. Come and find me. After speaking, she hung up the phone directly. Andy opened his phone and found dozens of missed calls on it. It's all from Bao Yifan. There are also dozens of unread messages in WeChat. These messages did not stir much waves in Andy's heart. She pressed off the phone and put it in her pocket. Andy came to Thailand to relax. She and her ex have different personalities. Due to various reasons, the two are no longer suitable to be together. After realizing that she was not suitable for her ex, she decisively proposed a breakup. This inappropriate relationship has already occupied too much of her mind. There is really no need to make meaningless struggles anymore. Continuing is meaningless. But it doesn't mean it's okay after the breakup. Her mood was still affected. That's why I came to Thailand to travel and relax. Andy and Yifan Bao met at a cocktail party. Bao Yifan was attracted by her beautiful appearance, and later conquered by her extraordinary abilities. After learning that Andy is going on a trip to Thailand, Bao Yifan followed over without hesitation. His every move tells Andy that he is pursuing her. But Andy did not agree to his pursuit. Chapter 3. Task completed. Encounter Andy on the plane. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After learning Andy's address, Bao Yifan. I didn't even have time to tidy up my beard, so I grabbed my phone and rushed over. On the outdoor balcony outside the Villa Hotel, he saw the worried figure behind him. He saw Andy not even changing his clothes. Immediately asked, Andy, where did you go last night? I called you but no one answered, and I didn't reply to messages. It took me a few words to talk to the waiter and you disappeared, but you scared me to death. You haven't encountered any danger, have you? Bao Yifan looked at Andy with a worried expression on his face. Successfully awakened Andy's memories from last night. Crazy scenes surged before my eyes last night. Her gaze was flickering, shifting away from Bao Yifan's closely following inquiry. At this moment, I feel extremely ashamed inside. She can't tell Bao Yifan that she drank with him last night. As a result, she accidentally drank too much. She only remembers that Bao Yifan stopped the villa hotel waiter. In the blink of an eye, she stumbled into the wrong room. Encounter that handsome stranger. A series of absurd actions have occurred. She only needs to know about this shameful thing herself. Sorry, Mr. Xiaobao. I drank too much last night and felt dizzy, so I opened the nearest room to rest. Bao Yifan has little doubt about Andy's words. He breathed a long sigh of relief. Andy is fine. Do you want to go back and change clothes? I have prepared a travel guide for Phuket, and we can go there later. When Bao Yifan saw Andy's lack of interest, he didn't say anything next. Andy, why don't you go back and rest first? So haggard, I probably don't have much strength to go out and play. Andy nodded and said, I'm planning to book a flight back. Bao Yifan looked at her in surprise and said, Are you going back now? Didn't you come out to relax? It's okay not to mention this, but when it comes to Andy, it makes things worse. The decision she made couldn't be changed in just a few words by Bao Yifan. There was no other way, so Bao Yifan had to follow suit and book a plane ticket. In the restaurant, Chen Shuo is having breakfast to recover his strength. To be honest, Thai cuisine is really good. It has local characteristics and fresh seafood is available early in the morning. There are also a variety of dazzling fruits. Handle and place on the plate, with a fruity aroma. When he was about to return to the hotel after eating, the system prompts the sound to start. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully completing the Thailand travel mission and obtaining the perpetual right to use the 4 suites on the 22nd floor of the Joy Song. So those 4 houses are all mine now. Yes, the host. Chen Shuo, who received a positive response from the system, was somewhat excited. After all, this is his first real estate after coming to this world. The task is completed, and Chen Shuo doesn't need to continue staying here. He booked his plane ticket directly and went back to the villa hotel to pack his luggage. After returning to the room, the messy clothes on the ground were gone. It seems that Andy has already left. Chen Shuo didn't pay much attention. Pack your things and head straight to the airport. First class on an airplane. Andy is resting on the seat with sunglasses on. A somewhat familiar handsome figure rushed into my sight. Isn't this person the man who spent the night with her last night? Andy frowned in an instant, staring at Chen Shuo without leaving a trace and with caution. Chen Shuo is holding a plane ticket and searching for a seat. Watching the distance between the two getting closer and closer. Andy's heartbeat also began to accelerate unconsciously, and different thoughts and ideas quickly came to her mind. Until Chen Shuo's footsteps stopped in front of her. Found it. Chen Shuo saw his seat. At the innermost corner by the window, it happened to be blocked by Andy. It's also a coincidence. He looked at his seat. Say to Andy, please make way. Andy had just come to his senses when Chen Shuo had already arrived by her side. The tall figure exudes a faint sense of pressure, and the face is even more perfect than that of a supermodel, with a resolute and handsome demeanor. But now Andy doesn't appreciate the beautiful man's thoughts. Her eyes under the sunglasses were filled with embarrassment. How could it be so coincidental? Can you meet him on the plane? Please make way, my seat is next to you, Chen Shuo said as he glanced at Andy blocking his long legs in half of the aisle. Andy quickly put away his slender and straight jade legs. The first-class seats are very spacious. Retract your legs to free up a lot of space. Chen Shuo walked over, leaving behind a familiar scent. Andy took off his sunglasses and looked at Chen Shuo sitting in the seat beside her in confusion. That kind of thing only happened to the two of them last night. I also paid him a ceiling fee myself. She didn't expect to meet Chen Shuo again on the plane. I feel extremely embarrassed in my heart. A pair of beautiful eyes, puzzled and helpless. But the thought of Chen Shuo's attitude in the morning made her extremely angry. She understood that she was the one who was clearly at a loss. He is now rushing onto the plane again. Are you dissatisfied with the price of the ceiling fee? I still want to persistently beat her up. Several possibilities flashed through Andy's mind in an instant. She simply turned around and looked at Chen Shuo, asking. What exactly is your purpose? Chasing me onto the plane, what do you want to do? Chen Shuo just sat down, and when he heard Andy's questioning, his mouth curved, revealing a mocking tone. Andy, the CEO of Gao Leng, indeed has some mental stress disorder. He turned to Andy's questioning gaze. You overthink it, it's purely a coincidence that our seats are connected together, said calmly. After all, there are only 12 seats in the first-class cabin of this plane. Don't be too sentimental. Andy was ready to warn and respond, but he instantly choked back into his stomach. She widened her eyes and looked at Chen Shuo, feeling extremely angry. But what Chen Shuo said is quite reasonable. Booking your own plane ticket was a last-minute initiative. No one knows except for Bao Yifan. Andy, take a look at these and see if they fit your appetite. Just as Andy was choked by Chen Shuo, Bao Yifan walked over with food. Andy, who is restless, has no appetite at all now. She shook her head. Mr. Xiao Bao, thank you, but I don't feel like eating it for now. Bao Yifan was taken aback for a moment, thinking that Andy thought this was an airplane meal. Quickly explained, this is not airplane food. I'm worried that you won't be able to get used to airplane food, so I specifically ordered it. The food on the plate is abundant and looks very fresh and delicious. Andy took a glance and then withdrew his gaze. I don't have an appetite right now. Seeing the situation, Bao Yifan did not demand anything. He bought food alone to make Andy happy. Since Andy was unhappy, he casually handed the plate to the flight attendant. Take it down. Okay, sir. Bao Yifan deliberately changed his seat to Andy's side. After he sat down, he found that Andy's mood was still very low. Chapter 4. Reminder Andy to pay rent. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After Chen Shuo sat down, he casually picked up a magazine to look at. Beside him, Andy appeared somewhat restless. After Bao Yifan discovered that Andy was in a bad mood. After thinking about it, it's possible that Andy is still feeling upset and sad about the breakup. Andy, where do you want to eat after getting off the plane? There is a Anhui cuisine that is very good, and I know their boss very well. When we get off the plane, I'll take you over to eat. After dinner, I'll take you to a place to relax. I guarantee you will like it. Bao Yifan racked his brains thinking about fun things. But he didn't know, the more he said. Andy's expression became more solemn and impatient. Before encountering Chen Shuo, Andy is still in the mood to eat and play. But she is sitting next to Chen Shuo now. The smell of Chen Shuo is all around. Make her uncontrollably recall what happened last night. My face was heating up in waves. I think Bao Yifan is like a fly. Buzzing non-stop around her. More restless and restless. At this moment, Chen Shuo's mood was very relaxed. He completed 4 tasks assigned by the system. Obtained 4 properties. Now is a comfortable time. The magazine in hand also became interesting. He finished reading an article and flipped to the next page. A sexy model dressed in confidential underwear suddenly appeared on the cover. He glanced at the title. Originally, it was an article about the story of Victoria's Secret. Chen Shuo takes it seriously. Not even noticing the incredible expression on Andy's face beside him. She just glanced casually. I didn't expect to see such a hot photo. I suddenly felt that Chen Shuo's face was completely different from his. Stare at these vulgar pictures in public on the plane. How handsome his face is, how lewd his heart is. Andy quickly withdrew his gaze. But my heart was filled with anger. Surprisingly, I spent the night with such a sleazy man. She felt extremely nauseous just thinking about it. You don't have to look to know, Chen Shuo must be drooling while staring at the photo now. Not serious. As Bao Yifan spoke, he suddenly realized that Andy was angry. He didn't know why and didn't dare to ask. I had to shut up. The plane quickly arrived at Haishur Airport. After getting off the plane, Bao Yifan quickly picked up Andy's luggage. Andy, I'll take you to dinner. I just called the boss and he heard that you're going to eat, so he personally cooked and prepared a table full of delicious dishes. Let's go over quickly. Andy stopped and picked up his luggage. She said to Bao Yifan, Mr. Xiao, I didn't agree to your invitation on the plane. Sorry, I have to go home now. After speaking, Andy doesn't care what expression Bao Yifan has. Take your luggage and leave. The demeanor of a cold and aloof female CEO. Although Bao Yifan felt a bit disappointed in his heart. But it didn't discourage me. Because Andy is inherently so independent, intelligent, and capable. So we won't go eat, I'll take you home. Bao Yifan caught up with Andy in 3 or 2 steps. His car happened to be in the parking lot. Andy stopped and looked at Bao Yifan seriously. I've made it very clear, Mr. Xiao Bao, don't follow me anymore, okay? Okay then. Bao Yifan did not resist Andy and watched her leave before going alone to pick up the car. Andy took a taxi back to the community. She was thinking about things with Chen Shuo all the way. Is it really that she overthought and misunderstood Chen Shuo? After all, throughout the entire journey, Chen Shuo did not initiate a conversation with her. After getting off the plane, I didn't bother or follow her. Perhaps it's just that she's overthinking it. Andy not only laughed at himself. She arrived at the entrance of the Joyful Song community. When getting off, a car happened to be parked nearby. Andy didn't care, took out his luggage and prepared to go home. But when she saw Chen Shuo getting out of another car, instantly pause your steps. After Andy was stunned for a moment, a wave of anger surged into his heart. She stared at Chen Shuo angrily. Don't say this is also a coincidence. She has been living in Joy Song for so long, it's unreasonable not to remember this person. Andy can reasonably doubt it now. Chen Shuo is just following her. She lost her luggage and walked up to Chen Shuo. Q asked, what exactly do you want? From Thailand to airplanes, from airplanes to Ode to Joy. Don't beat around the bush, tell me what your ultimate goal is. While Andy was angry, his back began to chill. Anger surged against her rationality. She began to doubt whether the incident last night was a coincidence. Otherwise, how could I have met Chen Shuo repeatedly? Once normal, twice coincidental. What about this third time? Andy stared at Chen Shuo with anger and vigilance. Waiting to expose his lies. Facing Andy's anger, Chen Shuo's heart hardly stirred up any waves. Andy is prone to excessive nervousness, and this behavior is quite normal. He calmly took out his backpack and carried it behind his back. I paid the driver again and wish him a smooth journey. After finishing all of this, I walked into the community. What are you doing? Andy's nerves are currently tense. Chen Shuo suddenly approached. She was so scared that she took 2 steps back. Chen Shuo looked at her and casually said, go home. Why are you standing here? Blowing cold air. He doesn't have any special hobbies. Chen Shuo is about to step into the community. Suddenly I thought, Andy seems to have not paid the rent yet. He was a bit uncertain, so he immediately took out his phone and checked it. Only Fan Shengmei, Chu Xiaoxiao, Guan Zhuer, and Empress Qiu Yingying have confirmed the payment of rent. He immediately turned around and looked at Andy, who was uncertain. By the way, you haven't paid the rent yet. Please pay the rent on time. If possible, transfer it to me now. Andy's house is the largest, and the rent is also the highest. This world has undergone some changes due to his arrival and the emergence of systems. The 5 women on the 22nd floor before. In addition to Fan Shengmei, Guan Zhuer, and Qiu Yingying. Chu Xiaoxiao and Andy are both their own houses. Andy's house was specially prepared by Old Tan according to her requirements in order to dig her. As for Chu Xiaoxiao, when she wanted to live here, her parents were not very happy about it. I insist on buying a villa for Chu Xiaoxiao, but she is not willing. I bought a house on the 22nd floor of Building 19 in Happy Song Village. Originally, they didn't need to pay rent. But now it's different. Due to the influence of the system, these houses are now in his hands. He has the right to use these houses. The world plot has correspondingly changed. Chu Xiaoxiao and Andy live in a house on the 22nd floor of Joy Song, which has become rented. The 2 of them became tenants under Chen Shuo's command. He is the landlord and has the obligation and right to urge the payment of rent. The other 4 Americans have all paid their rent on time. Only Andy hasn't paid yet. He asked Andy to pay the rent. No problem. Chapter 5. Driving too fast, almost flying over Fan Shengmei. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Pay rent. What rent should I pay? Is he her new landlord? How could it be? Andy wouldn't believe that there is such a coincidence in this world. She looked at Chen Shuo's serious demeanor. After a moment of confusion, I felt like laughing. This person may not have any delusions, right? She looked at Chen Shuo with a serious expression and threatened, I don't care what the purpose is for you to approach me. But from now on, if you continue to harass me, I'm about to call the police. Andy spoke and took out his phone directly. The passers-by looked at the 2 of them curiously. After Andy calmed down, he also resumed his usual sharp style when facing Chen Shuo. Chen Shuo was speechless for a moment and directly searched for Andy's rental contract from his phone. He handed his phone to Andy. Take a look, did you sign it yourself? Andy was stunned for a moment. If it were a scammer, it's impossible to do such a complete set of acting. Andy hesitated and took Chen Shuo's phone. She decided that if Chen Shuo fooled her, she immediately called the police and caught this tracking maniac scammer. Andy has already calculated in his heart how to deal with Chen Shuo later. But when she sees the content displayed on her phone, silence fell instantly. The rental contract in Chen Shuo's mobile phone is exactly the same as the one she signed. She doesn't have time to meet offline for discussion. Directly sign an online contract with Chen Shuo. On the mobile rental contract, there is also her online signature. And the landlord Chen Shuo is obviously a handsome man standing in front of her. It's really him. Seeing this, Andy's various doubts in his heart were instantly resolved. Chen Shuo already had a house in the Ode to Joy. This also explains why he flew on the same plane as her and they both arrived at the community at the same time. Andy returned the phone to Chen Shuo. I'm sorry, Mr. Chen. I didn't know you were the new landlord. I apologize for what I just said. Andy said he apologized, really apologized. She bowed slightly to Chen Shuo. He said sincerely, I'm sorry. Chen Shuo is not such a nitpicking person. After asking Andy to transfer the money on the spot, he went home. When Andy saw Chen Shuo open the door of 2204 and walk in, my red lips slightly parted, and I went back to my room and sat on the sofa to digest. Chen Shuo returns home here. The system prompts the task to start. Reward for this mission. Lamborghini Urus. I'll go, Urus is worth 3 million. But Chen Shuo thought about it for a moment. The system even offers to give away 4 houses worth millions of dollars. Millions of cars are not yet sprinkled with water. Subsequently, the system released the first task. Please drive out and take a lap, host. Chen Shuo had this intention and went downstairs with the car key that appeared on the table in front of him. In the parking lot downstairs, a brand new black, steady and grand Lamborghini stands quietly in the parking space. Compared all the cars. Even Andy's Porsche 911 has dimmed under the radiance of Lamborghini. Chen Shuo drove on the road. On the roadside, a tall and exquisitely dressed woman eagerly awaited her. The wind outside is blowing a bit cold. She was only wearing a tight black woolen dress, covered in a wine-red checkered shawl, which could block her proud figure. Full and straight long legs, wearing only a thin pair of jeans. Wearing high heels, my feet feel a bit numb. She waited for a while and couldn't stand in the cold wind. Hug your arms with both hands, trying to warm up a bit. Wang Baichuan, if you don't come again, I'll leave. Oh my God, I've been waiting for you here for so long. It's so cold. Fan Shengmei rubbed her hands. She recently agreed to Wang Baichuan's pursuit. The two of them agreed to go on a date, but unexpectedly Wang Baichuan was late. Just as Fan Shengmei was muttering, a middle-aged woman wearing a navy blue coat walked over. Auntie. Fan Shengmei's heart skipped a beat when she saw Wang Baichuan's mother. I have an ominous feeling in my heart. The smile on her face was a bit stiff. But still politely greeted Wang Baichuan's mother. Auntie, what's up with you coming here? Break up with my son, you two are not suitable. The Queen Mother had a serious face, a cold expression, and a distant attitude. The last bit of smile on Fan Shengmei's face disappeared. She thought she would be despised by Wang Baichuan's family. But I didn't expect them to be so direct. Bitterness slowly spread in her heart. The Queen Mother sighed and continued. I have already inquired about your family's situation, there's no need for me to say it again in front of you. What about your family? In other words, it's a bottomless pit. If you continue to be with my son, it will harm him. Do you understand? Fan Shengmei clenched her fingers and bit her lips tightly. My face turned red and white. She understood from the moment she saw the Queen Mother. I and Wang Baichuan may have no hope left. But the Queen Mother's words were like pulling open her scars in front of her with one's own hands. Let her nod and admit it herself. Fan Shengmei's family environment is indeed not good. But she has a strong sense of self-esteem from childhood to adulthood. I don't even allow myself to compromise with the Queen Mother. She took a deep breath and squeezed out a smile. Auntie, please go back and tell Wang Baichuan about today's situation. I won't disturb him again in the future. After speaking, the Queen Mother nodded in satisfaction and turned to leave. After Wang Baichuan's mother left, Fan Shengmei couldn't help it anymore. She crouched on the ground, suppressing herself and crying loudly. A pair of affectionate and charming eyes, crying red. She forced herself to calm down and stand up. Stumbling and preparing to go home. I was completely out of my wits, turning a red light into a green light when crossing the street. Walk over as if there were no one around. A black Lamborghini rushed over at full speed. Until I heard a piercing brake sound. Fan Shengmei just came to her senses. At this moment, Chen Shuo is driving in circles. A figure suddenly appeared on the zebra crossing. Lamborghini is too fast and close in distance. There's no way to brake at all. That can't even hit people. Unable to do anything, he quickly thought about it and quickly turned the steering wheel, causing the car to come to a stop at the edge of the guardrail. Fan Shengmei was so frightened that she stood still and dared not move. Just now, she almost got hit by a car and flew away. Fan Shengmei stood in place in a daze. The black brand-new luxury car opened its doors and a slender and handsome figure walked down. After Chen Shuo got off the car, he saw the woman who had just run the red light still daydreaming. He frowned and walked over, only to find that the woman looked a bit familiar. Isn't this Fan Shengmei? He doesn't know why Fan Shengmei ran the red light. He only knows that if he continues to stand here, Fan Shengmei will fly sooner or later. He pulled the frightened Fan Shengmei to his car. The scratches on Lamborghini are very obvious. Chen Shuo frowned at the sight. This is his new car. Fan Shengmei was originally humiliated by the Queen Mother's words, but she was extremely aggrieved. This startled me again, and in an instant, the pear blossoms dripped with rain. Chapter 6. Cutting through luxury cars. Fan Shengmei threw herself into the embrace. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Fan Sheng's beautiful eyebrows furrowed tightly, and her delicate makeup made her cry a bit. Eyes full of charm, tears streaming out like money. She is already charming and charming. With a look of fear and injustice added, I still pity them. Chen Shuo raised his eyebrows lightly and extended a hand. Fan Shengmei thought he was going to wipe her tears, but hesitated for a moment, feeling a bit embarrassed. Because the man in front of him is really too handsome. Gently pulling her over. This comparison is with Wang Baichuan. Fan Shengmei felt even sadder in her heart. But the expected contact did not come. Chen Shuo turned his finger and pointed to the car body scratched by the guardrail. I just picked up this car today. First time opening. Due to your fault, it has been disfigured. Such a large area, it's estimated that the entire car needs to be painted. Lose money. Gah. The emotion that rose on Fan Shengmei's face abruptly came to an end. She looked incredulously at the handsome guy in front of her. Instantly realizing that I had just overthought. But it was indeed she who ran the red light just now. This handsome guy bumped into the guardrail to avoid her. Fan Shengmei was at fault and decided to bear the compensation for this incident. But she clearly hasn't come to her senses yet. I didn't even recognize the logo of Lamborghini. Okay, how much do you calculate? I'll compensate you. Fan Shengmei felt a little heartbroken, covering her heart with both hands, her chest full of ups and downs. This time, it will cost more than half a month's salary. She blinked her tearful eyes and saw Chen Shuo extend a finger. 10,000. Although Fan Shengmei felt it was a bit too much, she nodded and prepared to use her phone to transfer money. But Chen Shuo's next words made her hand tremble with fear. I almost threw my phone out. 100,000, Chen Shuo said lightly. What? 100,000. You're lying to ghosts. I see you're quite a serious person, you probably wouldn't take the opportunity to extort. Just now, Fan Shengmei, who was still in a daze, was startled by the sky-high price of 100,000 and woke up. What is the concept of 100,000 yuan? She has received half a year's salary. She now seriously suspects that this handsome guy is extorting money. I tell you, if you discuss it well, I can give you 10,000 yuan to repair the car. But if you don't speak well, even wanting to engage in extortion and blackmail with my mother, I'm telling you, there's no way. Fan Shengmei just quit. What kind of car? Changing the paint would cost 100,000 yuan. Don't even make excuses, just grab it. Fan Shengmei's chest heaved violently with anger. Chen Shuo chuckled lightly, originally considering that Fan Shengmei was his tenant, he didn't want to make it look so ugly. Since that's the case, then the only option is to handle the alarm. If you're not willing, I'll call the police and have them come over to handle it. Fan Shengmei's rising flame was instantly extinguished by a basin of cold water. My chest momentum is not as strong anymore. Because Director Bai once entered the police station. Now hearing these two words makes me feel scared. She immediately adjusted her emotions and said to Chen Shuo in a friendly tone, "Handsome guy, we have something to discuss. That kind of place is not a waste of public resources. How about we discuss it again? There's a restaurant ahead. I'll treat you to dinner, let's discuss while eating." Fan Shengmei really doesn't want to go to the police station anymore. The last time she impulsively went in due to the incident with Director Bai. The oppressive environment inside is still fresh in her memory. Chen Shuo curled his lips and looked at Fan Shengmei, who was dressed up mature and sexy. The voice he spoke was a bit cold. "If you don't want to go in and drink tea, it's okay. You'll lose money. Let's discuss again." "There's nothing to discuss, either you go in and have some tea. I don't need you to treat me to dinner alone anymore, and I also saved you some money. After entering, with the police uncle by your side, you don't have to worry about me extorting money." Fan Shengmei's beautiful and affectionate big eyes were panicked and uneasy. She gritted her lips tightly, not expecting Chen Shuo to be so unfriendly. "She's not going in to drink tea." Fan Shengmei's gaze turned and she pointed to the scratched opening of over 10 centimeters, snorting coldly. "It's just a small cut, not as big as my slap. How could it possibly cost 100,000 yuan? She withdrew her gaze and rolled her eyes. "Pretty. Rich people are always busy, and if they scratch their farts, they need to paint the whole car. What a pretentious thing." Fan Shengmei wrapped her hands around her chest, squeezing herself in front of her and looking at Chen Shuo disdainfully. Chen Shuo's gaze turned and he asked, "Don't you know this brand?" One sentence made Fan Shengmei blush and her ears turn red. "Who does he look down on? It's just a Lamborghini. He has seen it before, at most 1 million or so. Lamborghini, what's in a car worth around 1 million yuan? Andy's car still costs over 1 million. She hasn't sat before." Chen Shuo smiled and explained, "The Lamborghini Urus was launched in 2018, with a minimum transaction price of 3 million yuan. The high-end version can even reach 45 million yuan. Coincidentally, my car is a high-end version." 3 million. Fan Shengmei felt like her tongue was tangled. Isn't this car enough to buy 2 Andy cars? She fell silent. Don't say what high-end version this car is. She can't afford to pay even 3 million yuan. In the moment when Fan Shengmei was stunned, Chen Shuo had already picked up his phone and prepared to call the police. "Don't worry." Fan Shengmei was in a hurry and reached out to grab Chen Shuo's phone. If he calls the police, not only will he have to go to the police station for tea. When the time comes, the money will also have to be compensated. She twisted her high heels in panic. Losing balance under his feet, he opened his hands and threw himself at Chen Shuo. Fan Sheng's beautiful eyes were flustered, her red lips slightly parted. Pounding and falling into Chen Shuo's embrace. Chest. It hurts so much. Fan Shengmei didn't expect Chen Shuo to look quite sturdy, but the muscles in her chest were hard. At this moment, Chen Shuo's expression was somewhat subtle. He took a half step back with one foot and barely stood firm to support Fan Shengmei. Finally, it firmly pressed against him. "It's quite comfortable, but it's a bit heavy." In a panic, Fan Shengmei's hands did not grasp firmly, and her feet slipped tightly against Chen Shuo's chest. "It looks like he's throwing his arms around Chen Shuo." Chen Shuo paused in his footsteps and reached out to grab Fan Shengmei's waist. "This woman is so heavy, her waist is quite thin. But at least I weigh over 100. Chen Shuo held his slender waist in his arms and helped the person up steadily. At this moment, Fan Shengmei's face seemed to be drunk, and her cheeks blushed with embarrassment. "Stand still at a loss. Half of the shawl slipped off, revealing a beautiful figure curve. She quickly put on her shawl and lowered her head, biting her lips tightly. Chapter 7. Chen Shuo is suppressed. Fan Shengmei is too heavy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Thank you. Thank you. Fan Shengmei apologized to Chen Shuo with a blush on her cheeks. Chen Shuo waved his hand and said, "It's nothing, it's just that you're too heavy. Almost crushed me to death." Fan Shengmei lifted her beautiful eyes and looked at Chen Shuo in silence. She won't have any problems with her ears, will she? What does he mean by roast about his bad figure? Fan Shengmei couldn't bear it in an instant. Feeling embarrassed, he pulled off his shawl, raised his head and chest, and stared at Chen Shuo with his hands crossed over his waist. "Open your dog's eyes wide and show me clearly. I have a great figure." The distance between the two was already close. The key is that Fan Shengmei is now proving her figure and her pride as a woman. I didn't even notice the ambiguity between the two of them. But Chen Shuo noticed it. He not only noticed it, but also experienced it firsthand. Chen Shuo propped his chin with one hand and carefully scrutinized Fan Shengmei. After careful study, come to a conclusion. Perhaps these two things are quite heavy. These two things. Fan Shengmei was stunned for a moment. Then he exclaimed in surprise. "What? Hooligans." Fan Shengmei instantly placed her hands on her chest and took 2 steps back. Her beautiful and charming face turned red with anger, staring angrily at Chen Shuo. She was so angry that her chest heaved violently, her face turned red, but she couldn't say a word. Just staring at Chen Shuo angrily. Hooligan, big hooligan. She is both angry and aggrieved. Why are you so unlucky today? Mingming and Wang Baichuan got better and came out to play. The result was not only being pigeoned, but also being severely humiliated by the Queen Mother. Forget it, she was unlucky enough to cross the road without looking at the traffic lights. Scraped the person and car. Fan Shengmei felt extremely aggrieved in her heart. If Wang Baichuan came out, everything would be gone. I knew I wouldn't have agreed to Wang Baichuan's date invitation. Fan Shengmei's grievances are almost unbearable. She angrily flipped through her WeChat balance and saw the 3 digits on it. My face turned red and I almost didn't cry. Forget it, fortunately she also hit a small vault. Fan Shengmei checked her bank card balance and found that there was only 15,000 yuan in it. 15,000 is usually not enough. She looked conflicted and her red lips were slightly swollen from being bitten by her. I wanted to call Wang Baichuan, but she just promised her mother not to see him today. I can't even pull that face off now. What a shame. Chen Shuo is not in a hurry, anyway, the system has not yet prompted the task to be completed. He quietly watched as Fan Shengmei opened her phone, revealing a bitter melon face. Fan Shengmei can also be considered a great beauty. Although her face is not as delicate as Andy's, she excels in her better figure. The front is convex and the back is warped, very material. And he just personally verified that her figure is definitely not adulterated. Now Fan Shengmei really has no choice. She rolled her eyes and just baidu herself. The car in front of me is really a top-tier luxury car, Lamborghini. She quietly glanced at Chen Shuo, pondering in her heart. Rich people shouldn't be so stingy, right? Can you afford millions of cars, but can't you afford maintenance costs of around 100,000 yuan? The wealthy person she used to know casually gave her girlfriend a bag. They are all more than 100,000. Sir, you look so wealthy and drive such a good car, right? This repair fee of around 100,000 yuan is not a small deal for you. You already have so much money, don't you still care about this 100,000 yuan car repair fee? Fan Shengmei had a pair of big eyes that were slightly red with mist. Looking innocently at Chen Shuo. Originally, Chen Shuo began to feel a little more comfortable listening to Fan Shengmei's words. But the last sentence has been savored. This woman should be held first and then thrown. Let's play moral kidnapping with him here. What a fuss. His money should have been brought in by the strong wind. You finished your work ahead of schedule, why don't you help your colleagues with it? Are you playing moral kidnapping with me? Don't play with me like this, I won't eat your tricks. Chen Shuo impatiently waved his hand and was about to call the police. Fan Shengmei was careful not to be exposed, her face and ears turned red in an instant, and she had nothing to say. If she had money, she also wanted to lose money and settle the matter. She doesn't want to continue pestering Chen Shuo here. Fan Shengmei quickly grabbed Chen Shuo's hand holding the phone and looked at him pleadingly. Chen Shuo raised his hand relatively high, and Fan Shengmei had to stand up straight in order to grab Chen Shuo's hand. There is a height difference of nearly 20 centimeters between the two. In this position, Chen Shuo gently lowered his head and looked at Fan Shengmei, who was struggling to lift her head. Fan Shengmei straightened her back and naturally extended her chest, coincidentally touching the back of Chen Shuo's hand holding the phone. Fan Shengmei has gritted her teeth and even used it to act recklessly. Now all that's left is pretending to be pitiful. If it doesn't work, she won't be able to do anything about it. Handsome guy, a person with your identity should be worth tens of thousands of yuan per minute, right? Why don't you waste your time here with me, an ordinary person? Why don't we think about other remedies? Is it okay? Fan Shengmei blinked hard. Chen Shuo's expression became once again delicate. Mature women are just provoking. He felt the softness coming from the back of his hand. Hesitated for a moment and nodded. Upon seeing this, Fan Shengmei lifted her heart and approached Chen Shuo, asking, what conditions are there? Handsome guy, just say it. Fan Shengmei has already decided, as long as it's not too much. She is not unable to accept it either. Chen Shuo touched his chin with the other hand and looked up and down at Fan Shengmei's almost perfect figure with a protruding and raised back. He didn't say a word, but his red eyes had already explained everything. What kind of man has Fan Shengmei never seen before? Faced with Chen Shuo's undisguised gaze, he almost instantly understood. She released Chen Shuo's hand and took 2 steps back. Bastard. Hooligan. Shameless. Infernal. Fan Shengmei shouted these few words angrily. Beautiful eyes glared angrily. Her pretty face turned red with anger. Don't think that being handsome means you can do whatever you want. I have a boyfriend, I will never betray him. After shouting, Fan Shengmei wrapped her shawl tightly. Her beautiful eyes burst into tears, biting her red lips tightly. What kind of thing is this? Has she been ordered to commit tai sui this year? Every encounter is getting worse and worse. The discussion with the new landlord about reducing rent was rejected. There are still a lot of vampires at home. The relationship with my boyfriend finally got back on track. I just enjoyed some happiness and warmth, but it was broken by my boyfriend's mother herself. I almost got hit by a car when I went out. In an instant, emotions of anger, shame, sadness, and injustice enveloped Fan Shengmei. She stared at Chen Shuo with anger and shame. Chapter 8. Fan Shengmei Actively Getting Closer. Even beautiful women need. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chen Shuo's car was scraped before the task was completed. It was clearly his misfortune. What does she mean by being so aggrieved? Can beautiful women ignore the rules? Of course not. Chen Shuo was too lazy to talk nonsense anymore. He was holding his phone and preparing to call the police. Upon seeing this scene, Fan Shengmei was so frightened that she hurriedly went to grab her phone. She has no other choice now. Seizing Chen Shuo's phone, at least you don't have to go to the police station. But she ignored the height difference between the two. Chen Shuo lifted his hand lightly and lifted it over his head. Fan Shengmei jumped up, unable to even touch Chen Shuo's forearm. She couldn't stand steadily in high heels and could only reach for his phone next to Chen Shuo. Under the panic, I didn't care about the feeling of contact and friction between the two. Give me your phone. Fan Shengmei was both angry and anxious, circling around Chen Shuo. Chen Shuo's mouth curled, deliberately lifting his phone to a height that Fan Shengmei thought she could reach but couldn't grasp. People on the roadside saw this scene. The man looked at Chen Shuo with envy and couldn't help but sigh. This man is really a dog. They also want to feel Chen Shuo's happiness. Especially Fan Shengmei not only looks beautiful, but also has a stunning figure. Being a ghost under the peony flower is also charming. The women looked at Fan Shengmei with envy. This man is too handsome, isn't he? Not only handsome, but also so flirtatious. Driving a few million yuan luxury car is the second best thing, they just love it and know how to flirt. Chen Shuo received envious and jealous glances from other male compatriots. The corner of my mouth slightly raised, looking at Fan Shengmei. You said you have a boyfriend, why are you still rubbing against other men? It's okay to rub against me, as long as your boyfriend doesn't get jealous. Fan Shengmei was focused on grabbing her phone when she suddenly heard Chen Shuo's inexplicable words. She stopped moving and her body's inertia had not stopped yet. A person accidentally threw themselves into Chen Shuo's arms. And Chen Shuo stood there without understanding, her movements were like throwing herself at Chen Shuo. It's great to have money, that's how you play on the road. Sexy beauties throw themselves in the arms on the street. The voices of passers-by discussing came to Fan Shengmei's ears. She instantly blushed and scrambled out of Chen Shuo's arms. You. Don't think I'm throwing myself at you. Fan Shengmei harshly warned Chen Shuo. Chen Shuo nodded with a smile and said, you're just rubbing around. Scratching. Fan Shengmei instantly remembered her previous action. Jumping up and down, as if rubbing against this annoying guy in front of me somewhere. That's too much. Even if you get a discount, you still have to be good. You're such a jerk. Fan Shengmei's charming face turned red with embarrassment, and she quickly took 2 steps back to widen the distance between the two. She looked up at Chen Shuo, who was leisurely and calm. Suddenly, there was not a single breath. He has taken such a big advantage of himself. He still has an undecided expression on his face. Stingy guy. Fan Shengmei forced herself to calm down. After thinking for a while, tell Chen Shuo about your thoughts. Anyway, I don't have that much money now. Why don't we make an IOU and I'll pay you back slowly? Do you think this is okay? Can we pull it down? Chen Shuo and Fan Sheng had a beautiful face. Guess this is her bottom line. Look at Fan Shengmei just rubbing against. No, it's for the sake of her own tenant. Chen Shuo reluctantly nodded. But IOUs are fine, but long-term procrastination is not enough. I still need to repay him the money I owe. You can make an IOU, but it should be paid off within 2 months. Otherwise, we'll meet at the police station. Fan Shengmei rolled her eyes and couldn't finish it. She has no choice but to agree now. Okay, I'll transfer 10,000 to you first, and I'll continue to transfer to you later. Speaking, Fan Shengmei reached out to Chen Shuo. Chen Shuo instinctively grabbed her soft and white little hand. To be honest, these hands are really soft. The joints are distinct but do not touch the hand at all. No wonder some people say that fleshy girls are the king. Fan Shengmei was once again stunned, staring blankly at her hand being held by Chen Shuo. What are you doing? I'm right to ask you. Fan Shengmei knew that Chen Shuo had misunderstood, so she quickly blushed and explained, I asked you for your bank card number. Okay, I won't say it earlier. Then you should have let go. Fan Shengmei withdrew her hand. Feeling both shy and annoyed in my heart. but Chen Shuo's face is too handsome. She was so angry that she bit to death, but couldn't utter a word of abuse. Fan Shengmei transferred 10,000 yuan according to her bank card number. Her balance instantly went from 5 digits to a pitiful 4 digits. It's enough to pay rent twice. Fan Shengmei was driven to death by grief. Leaving angrily with a phone in hand. It was not discovered that Chen Shuo was the new landlord who refused to lower the rent. Chen Shuo collected the IOU and drove away. Fan Shengmei looked at the passing luxury car and quickly covered her long hair carried by the wind. Damn it, you bastard. After getting angry, Fan Shengmei began to worry about repaying the money. Don't think about it on Wang Baichuan's side. She doesn't want to go through the humiliation of today again. Her previous relatives, friends, and classmates were all afraid of borrowing money from her. It seems that we can only hope on a few friends. She returned to the community feeling lost and lost. Fan Shengmei stood in front of Andy's door, biting her lips and struggling. If it weren't for that, there was really no other way. She didn't want to lick her face and ask her friend to borrow such a large sum of money. Andy, are you at home? The door suddenly opened. Guan Zhuer saw Fan Shengmei and whispered to her, Sister Fan, Andy seems to be in a bad mood. When you talk later, you just need to be a little more careful. She looks very unhappy. One sentence blocked Fan Shengmei's mind. She quickly adjusted her emotions. Okay. Looking up, everyone was comforting Andy in the room. Xiao Fan, you're here. Andy saw all his friends coming over. I am deeply moved in my heart. Fan Shengmei hid her worries and smiled. Andy, how was your trip to Thailand like this? Did you have fun playing? Oh no, Guan Zhuer realized that he had forgotten to tell Sister Fan. Andy was unhappy about his trip to Thailand. Miss Fan must have thought Andy was sad for Mr. Wei. Andy's expression was somewhat dim. She can still be unhappy about something. Of course, it's Chen Shuo, that bastard who got a discount and still behaved well. Chen Shuo did not know that he had been eulogized to 2 sisters with joy. I also defined it once. The content is the same. Andy didn't mention Chen Shuo. I encountered something that didn't go well, so I won't bring it up. Xiao Fan, I brought some gifts back from Thailand for each of you this time. Everyone has taken it, yours is still on the table. Fan Shengmei found herself poking into Andy's sad story. I'm a bit embarrassed. Sister Fan, I brought some specialty products back from home. Can you make them? Xiao Yingying hugged Fan Shengmei's arm and acted coquettishly. You've already taken a liking to this, haven't you? Oh, Miss Fan, you're the best. Everyone is waiting for you to come back and make it for them to eat. The atmosphere of joy owed to 5 beauties is once again harmonious. Chapter 9. Andy's Worry. A chance encounter at the welfare home. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Shengxian Group. Office of the Chief Financial Officer of the company. Andy is in a daze in front of the circular desk of Noda. The information sent by the secretary was pressed under her arm. The areas that require signatures are still blank. But at this moment, her gaze drifted somewhere, I don't know. My mind kept flashing through various scenes of being with Chen Shuo. Since what happened that day, Chen Shuo never disappeared from Andy's mind again. She anxiously threw down the signing pen in her hand. The secretary who brought the coffee oversaw this scene and quickly asked with concern, Mr. He, are you okay? It's okay, Andy shook his head. The secretary put down the coffee and was about to leave. Andy suddenly stopped her. Can you help me check if Mr. Tan is in the office? Okay, Mr. He. Andy and old Tan have taken leave. Tell Tan Zongming truthfully that her current state is not suitable for work. Although Tan Zongming did not know the specific reason, he still criticized the fake without saying a word. Andy glanced gratefully at Old Tan. Drive to Daesan Welfare Home. Xiaoming, sister has come to see you. Andy's restless heart calmed down a lot when he thought of his recognized younger brother. The corner of my mouth, which has been tense all along, has loosened a bit. At this moment, Chen Shuo is lifting an iron at home. Suddenly received a system prompt. Ding. The second random task has been triggered. Please go to Daesan Welfare Home immediately. Task requirement. Volunteer. Daesan Welfare Home. Isn't that where Andy's crazy brother stays? Where is he going to volunteer? I have experienced these tasks several times. Chen Shuo vaguely felt that the system was causing trouble. But he has no evidence. Chen Shuo's thought flashed and he changed into clothes. Go do the task. The power of Lamborghini Urus is strong. Plus there aren't many places on the road that are too speed limited. The 2-hour drive was shortened by almost an hour by Chen Shuo. Daesan Welfare Home. The staff here know Andy. Take the initiative to tell her the location of Xiaoming. Thank you. Andy thanked him and hurried over to Xiaoming's side. At this moment, Xiaoming was drawing and saw her coming. I smiled at her but didn't say a word. Continued drawing quietly. But this smile successfully broke through Andy's armor used to protect himself. She smiled and couldn't help but cry anymore. Sad events from childhood to adulthood flooded her mind. From silently shedding tears to crying uncontrollably. The staff did not disturb the gathering of their siblings. I didn't see this scene either. Xiaoming looked at Andy in surprise and confusion, his hand holding the paintbrush feeling a bit nervous. Andy is particularly helpless at this moment. She is afraid to scare her younger brother again. I can only suppress my sobs. Cover your face and cry bitterly. After an unknown amount of time, Andy cried and became tired. She let go of her hand and saw a pair of black leather shoes appearing before her. Andy looked up along the leather shoes, and Chen Shuo's handsome face gradually appeared in his sight. How is it him? When did he come? Realizing his loss of composure, Andy immediately wiped away his tears. Pretend to remain calm and look at Chen Shuo. How could you be here? Andy has just cried, with two beautiful big red eyes and slightly red nose tips, like an injured little rabbit. The other side of a strong woman's strength turns out to be like this. Completely unexpected, obedient and pitiful, wanting someone to hold her in their arms. The image is far from that of a calm and strategic female CEO. Chen Shuo withdrew his gaze and asked her, where is the dean's office? Not long after he came in, he saw Andy and happened to come over to ask her. Andy looked at Chen Shuo with puzzled red eyes, not knowing why. Isn't he here to find himself? Be aware of your own thoughts. Andy felt extremely embarrassed and distressed. She and Chen Shuo were just a one-night relationship. Why did Chen Shuo come to find her? When it comes to the relationship between two people, that is, the relationship between the landlord and the tenant. That's all. Andy forced himself to calm down. Perhaps Chen Shuo also came over because he had his own business. The dean's office is to the east. Andy followed his finger. Okay, thank you. After Chen Shuo thanked him, he saw Andy stand up. Seeing a puzzled expression on his face. Andy blushed and said to him, it's not easy to find the dean's office. I'll take you there. Don't misunderstand, I also need to inquire with the dean about Xiaoming's situation. Okay, Chen Shuo nodded. The figure sitting in the pavilion just now should be Andy's younger brother. From the appearance, at most I think her younger brother is quiet. He is a quiet child, but it's hard to tell where he's crazy. The two walked on the quiet path of the welfare home. Andy can smell the smell on Chen Shuo's body. It's not an unpleasant sweat odor, but upon closer inspection, it still has a slightly pleasant odor. Andy's cheeks were a little red and he secretly glanced at Chen Shuo. He has a high and straight nose, excellent eyebrows, and sharp facial lines. Even from a side view, there is no trace of excess fat on the face. Smooth lines, excellent facial features, and a perfectly flawless profile. Andy glanced and quickly withdrew his gaze. Her cheeks are a little hot. I am clearly not someone who looks at my face. How could I have looked at Chen Shuo's profile just now, almost lost my mind. But why did Chen Shuo come here? Does he also have relatives here? No, if his family is here. How could you not know the location of the dean's office? But Andy hasn't seen anyone else appear in 2204 these days. Thinking of this, Andy used his spare light to sneak a glance at Chen Shuo. The embarrassment in my heart has decreased significantly. She just saw Chen Shuo frowning. Is there an elderly person in his family who needs to live in a welfare home? At this moment, Chen Shuo was indeed a bit distressed. He glanced at Andy and didn't know how to express himself. But if he didn't say it, he would feel uncomfortable and flustered in his heart. Ah! This damn OCD. Neither of them spoke on the way. Finally walked to the entrance of the dean's office. Andy stopped his steps. Chen Shuo, this is the dean's office. You go first. Andy looks up. Seeing Chen Shuo's eyes staring at her without blinking. After Chen Shuo stopped, he got closer to Andy. I can see more clearly now. No, he can't help it anymore. Chen Shuo thought for a while and reached out to get close to Andy's face. His big hand suddenly approached. Andy was a bit confused by his actions. What does this mean? It was only when Chen Shuo's hand was about to approach her that he realized it. There are so many people here. Chen Shuo was in front of the staff of the welfare institution. Surprisingly, they came to touch her face. Chapter 10. Volunteer at the welfare home. Andy is excited. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Andy blushed and avoided Chen Shuo's hand. Shengmei furrowed her brows and lowered her voice, you're not serious. This is a welfare home. Chen Shuo was about to wipe away the dark mess in Andy's eyes. Suddenly, I heard Andy scolding me. He withdrew his hand and said to Andy, you have blurred your eye makeup. Ah. Ah, what? If you don't believe it, take your own phone to check. Andy opened the camera and saw the miserable expression on his face. Suddenly unable to do so awkwardly. It was just when she was crying. I accidentally cried and blurred my eye makeup. She sincerely said to Chen Shuo, I'm sorry, I just wronged you. Chen Shuo shook his head and said, it's okay, you go and take care of it. Mainly because he looks too uncomfortable. Chen Shuo is a bit confused. Why do beautiful women insist on applying some dark things to their eyes? Chen Shuo walked into the dean's office. The dean saw Chen Shuo's handsome face. At first glance, I recognized him as the person who registered online and applied to become a volunteer. Chen Shuo. Hello. Hello, Dean. Andy has gone to the bathroom for makeup now. She looked at herself in the mirror, crying with panda eyes. Suddenly burst into laughter. It's a bit awkward again. No wonder Chen Shuo's gaze was so strange just now. He may have seen it a long time ago, but he doesn't know how to tell himself. Thinking about it this way, Chen Shuo is actually quite cute. Andy wiped off the spent eye makeup. Chen Shuo reached out and asked if he wanted to help her apply eye makeup. Thinking about it this way, she has always been subjectively speculating about Chen Shuo's various behaviors. Since Thailand, he has not taken the initiative to do anything to her, including causing trouble in the community after returning to China. Chen Shuo didn't complain, and he didn't even get angry like her. Today, I wrongly accused him of being dishonest. It is clear that she has been wronging Chen Shuo all along. After Andy finished his makeup, his mentality also adjusted. She put away her cosmetics and originally intended to go to the dean's office. But when she thought that Chen Shuo might still be inside. I'm a bit embarrassed to see him. Why not go chat with Xiaoming? At this point, Chen Shuogang has finished communicating with the dean. Dean, then I'll go over first. By the way, Chen Shuo, Xiaoming's situation is quite special. When you first go over, it's best not to get too close. Step by step, if he doesn't want to get close to you. Don't force yourself, volunteering is also to help them. Chen Shuo nodded and said, Dean, I understand what you mean. The dean looked at Chen Shuo and always felt that this handsome young man was very reliable. She smiled at Chen Shuo and gestured for him to go first. Chen Shuo came to the small pavilion where Xiaoming was painting. But I saw Andy there. At this moment, Andy's makeup is exquisite and elegant, and his smile is sweet and charming. She held Xiaoming's painting and said, Xiaoming is great. Sister likes your painting. Xiaoming still looked a bit nervous at Andy's expression. Andy's sad expression just now made him feel a bit at a loss. He pushed the painting back towards Andy with force. Chen Shuo stood under the pavilion. Just as I was about to go, I suddenly received a system prompt sound. Ding! Congratulations to the host for triggering a temporary task and gaining the ability to associate physical behavior. Please have a conversation with Xiaoming for 30 minutes. After completing the task, the host will permanently gain the ability to associate physical behavior. A strange piece of information flooded into Chen Shuo's mind. It's just a blink of an eye. Xiaoming's actions have already been given meaning in his eyes. That is to say, he can rely on Xiaoming's body movements. Add some words he said to understand what Xiaoming really wants to express. After Andy saw him, he greeted him. Mr. Chen, may I ask why you are here? Chen Shuo was about to answer when Xiaoming beside him suddenly happily pointed at him and said, the previous one didn't look good. What? Andy looked at his younger brother with a mix of tears and laughter. Xiaoming often speaks in a confused manner. She also didn't understand what Xiaoming meant by this sentence. Previous Andy remembered the last time he and Wei Wei came to visit Xiaoming. Is Xiaoming referring to Wei Wei? Andy and Wei Wei traveled a lot to find Xiaoming. At that time, Wei Wei was able to approach Xiaoming and put in various efforts. It's just that the relationship between the two has become a thing of the past. There is no need to mention it again. Chen Shuo saw Xiaoming's eyes shining. Andy doesn't understand what Xiaoming means. But he understood Xiaoming's meaning from his excited pointing at his movements and the unclear words. Your younger brother is praising me for being good-looking, compared to the person who came with you. Xiaoming nodded. Andy was shocked that Chen Shuo could understand his younger brother's meaning. She looked at Chen Shuo incredulously, her eyes becoming increasingly complex. Do you want to draw a portrait for me? Chen Shuo walked up to Xiaoming and asked. Xiaoming nodded. Upon hearing this conversation, Andy immediately covered his mouth. This is too unbelievable. Chen Shuo handed the paper and pen to Xiaoming and sat beside him chatting. Xiaoming waved his paintbrush with a happy smile on his face. Okay. I like it. Andy couldn't help but ask Chen Shuo when he saw this scene. Chen Shuo, what was my younger brother saying just now? She was a little nervous, but also a little expectant. Chen Shuo did not answer Andy. He said to Xiaoming, you don't need to thank me. Just make me look handsome. It's okay, you don't have to be nervous, I believe you. Xiaoming's hand holding the paintbrush stabilized a bit. Make an effort to draw well and keep looking good. Andy saw that Chen Shuo could communicate smoothly with Xiaoming. She didn't interrupt and just watched quietly from the side. But her heart was shocked beyond measure. Chen Shuo smiled when he heard what Xiaoming said. Xiaoming really has a vision, I have always been so handsome. Xiaoming smiled at Chen Shuo. During the half-hour of drawing, the conversation between the two never stopped. This smooth chat surprised Andy. She wants to come over and talk to Xiaoming. I'm also worried that it might disturb Xiaoming's current state. At this moment, her heart was filled with shock. She and Wei Wei took a long time back then. Just getting closer to Xiaoming. But this closeness is only limited to Xiaoming, not excluding them. Compared to Chen Shuo's ability to easily chat with Xiaoming now. It's like heaven and earth. It's completely incomparable. Even now, she cannot be like Chen Shuo. Accurately grasp the meaning in every sentence of Xiaoming. But Chen Shuo only saw one action from Xiaoming. You can guess his general meaning. The shock this has caused Andy is too great. Just then, Dean Yang walked over. She watched the scene with shock and relief. Andy got up and walked over to Dean Yang. The two exchanged a glance and saw a strong shock in each other's eyes. Xiaoming is currently giving Chen Shuo a pie. Dean Yang has been taking care of Xiaoming with all his heart and effort over the years, and it is the first time he has seen Xiaoming so close to someone outside of him. This is also why she has been the director of the welfare home for so many years. The easiest volunteer I have ever seen to interact with patients. After all, when Andy first arrived, Dean Yang asked Xiaoming to memorize pi for Andy, hoping to bring the two siblings closer together. But it almost backfired. Chen Shuo, it's really not easy.